Just the Tip, Episode 2.4. Do you come here often? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever and wherever you are on this old rock, and welcome. For most people, creating believable characters is difficult. I mean, Disney hadn't created one in 15 years. And yes, I know I'm being hyperbolic, but hell, it wouldn't be me unless I bashed the mouse or kicked that effing Baby Yoda in the skull. But, I digress. Here's how I believe we need to think about characters. They're people. Just people. They're exciting people, manic people, depressed people, and lovable people. They are people you hate, envy, and want to hurt. But ultimately, they're just all people. Fallible, skillful, and unique human beings. Here's something that helped me. A little list, if you will, of tools to put together to help you make believable characters. Listen to people. Characters are just a representation of the types of people that exist. And hell, you're one or you would be listening. At least I hope you're a person. You interact with people every day. You listen to books, you read books, you already know how people are. You know what type of people you like and what type of people you don't. And yes, we're not all clinical psychologists, so we're not going to get everything right. That's the deal with this is, I would sit around and listen to people and how they interact with one another. Number 2, know the types of people. Do some minor research into psychology and sociology. That will help. And it's just research. I mean, we'll get to some other of that later, but the understanding, the knowledge, just like in the last episode, you want to be authentic. And the way to be authentic is to understand how people work. That way, when a decision comes to your character, you already know given the information that character has, what decision it should make. That's why when people watch things like Game of Thrones and characters don't act like they should, it hits a discordant note with them, even if they don't understand what's really going on. 3, put yourself in other people's shoes. Inarguably, this is the most important item. You have to both empathize and sympathize with your characters to understand the decisions they have to make. Not what they need to make, not what will save them, but what they have to do according to the rules you created for that character. And the last one is the big one. Get organized. You have to collect your thoughts. You have to keep track of your characters. Otherwise, in page 14, Yolanda has blue eyes, but in page 54, she has brown. On page 17, she's Irish, and on page 24, she's Scottish. You must understand and keep track of things. Role players will understand this completely. Anyway, get a tabletop role-playing game character sheet. A basic Dungeons & Dragons one will work fine. Eventually, I adapted into using Excel and creating my own kind of thing because I need to know different things than what is inherently given on a character sheet, and it was easier to type one up than to just keep marking up my paper ones. But it's a good way to keep things straight. You always have a flashcard, if you will, to go back and see what your character is. Really keep understanding them. The idea is to do what was done for many of us. The characters we watched and read as children, teens, young adults, and eventually the more mature people we became were our friends, our adversaries. Well, they are our friends. They are our adversaries because to this day we carry with them with us. They kept us company, and they taught us universal truths. They stuck with us. They were heroes and they were villains. And they were just your average Joe. But they were just people. Which is really why many of us are so upset with the state of entertainment. And just one more thing the power brokers, or idiots if you will, in Hollywood will never understand. Because of their sheer arrogance. But again, I digress. The point is that people who push money and try to predict things don't really understand why people needed those characters, what those characters got them through, so they feel they're completely justified in changing it to whatever they want. We want our characters to stick, to move, to connect with our audience. As for myself, my characters are even more necessary because I start with them and not the plot. I don't really plot, and I have a guideline, but we have an episode coming up about that. It's necessary to create a few blank or cardboard characters at times. And absolutely, those kinds of characters are necessary as literary devices, but are used for specific and limited reasons. But they're there and sometimes necessary. However, if your main, secondary, or even tertiary characters are cardboard cutouts, then you have a problem. A very big problem. An IP destroying problem. Ray. A storyteller at some level, especially in this day and age, has to understand people, even if only on an instinctual basis. You don't have to be Jordan Peterson or have some other deep understanding of medical knowledge in the personalities realm. But you do have to know how certain types of folks react, why they make the decisions they do. And it really depends on the story you're telling. In fact, I would suggest you watch Dr. Peterson or some other clinical psychologist to get that basic knowledge. Ultimately, characterization, just like the rest of the craft, is a difficult item to do well at first. But over time, you'll realize that just as I did, and just that you will with any other aspect of telling a story that has to do with the nuts and bolts, you already have those tools. You have grown up speaking to people. You know the people you like. Some folks, at least initially, people that use people they know for certain aspects of their characters because, again, and I cannot stress this enough, you have to know your characters enough to be able to predict what's going on inside their head and what their motivations are going to do with their path through your novel. Hell, you get to build them in. They may not even be aware of their motivations, but you must be, always. In a way, you're God. You're the creator. This is the world these folks inhabit, and you're building them from the ground up. Be as true to that as you can. Once again, I want to thank you for joining us for Just the Tip. Please remember to subscribe if you found this content helpful. And please share. We are reaching our goal of 500 subscribers by the end of the year, and I would really like to celebrate that with all of you. Thank you again, and remember, your life is your story. Make it a great one. Good night.